welcome to another episode of the Chaos Chronicles.
Navigating the randomness.
I'm Jess.
I'm Connie.
And today we are going to be going over another serial killer.
Yeah, you guys seem to like the dark and morbid, so that's kind of what our Wednesdays have become.
Yeah, so you're welcome, I guess.
Before we get too deep into that, just a reminder, you can find us on all of our social media. We would very much appreciate a like, subscribe, and follow, as repayment for the trauma that we inflict upon ourselves every week.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us at TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. The handle for all four is at Chaos Chronicles Podcast, and that's Chronicles with an S.
Yes. All right. Well, here's your guys' trigger warning for today. This episode will talk about some sensitive topics like sex workers, addiction, sexual assault, violence, murder, dismemberment of bodies, and a very, very, very brief mention of suicide.
All right, well, I feel comfortable bringing the red flag back in, so...
The red freak flag?
The red freak flag! Oh, if we've got the red freak flag, we still need to get the vomit bucket.
We do need a vomit bucket.
We do need a vomit bucket.
But so if you guys couldn't tell by the trigger warning, today's case is kind of a doozy. And like a lot of our Wednesday episodes, it might be a little rough. But the way this guy got caught has to be one of the dumbest ways.
Oh,
like he was beyond dumb.
Yeah. All right.
He was just being an idiot. Okay, so we will be talking about Joel Rifkin. Have you heard of him? Things might pop up later.
I was going to say, not off the top of my head, but I feel like I vaguely recall hearing it in a Criminal Minds episode.
Oh, I'm sure he comes up in Criminal Minds, for sure.
Yeah.
So Joel Rifkin was born on January 20th of 1959 to two unwed college students. They put him up for adoption, and at 3 weeks old, a New York couple adopted him. Their names are Bernard and Janine Refkin. 3 years later, they adopted another girl named Jan. They moved to East Meadow, Long Island in 1965, and Joel was in elementary school at this time. Joel had a difficult time fitting in and was heavily, heavily bullied. He is also said to have undiagnosed dyslexia as well. So,
and this is back in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a rough time. Even today, dyslexia is still a struggle to deal with and can make kids bullied and ostracized. So I can only imagine how it was back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with all that going on, school wasn't really going well for him. An interesting fact about Joel, though, was that he had an incredibly high IQ. It was 128.
Damn.
Yeah. So, per verywellminded.com, anything under 70 can indicate a mental disability. 70 to 84 is borderline. 85 to 114 is average intelligence. And then 115 to 129 is above average or bright. And then beyond that, moderately gifted, and it just keeps going up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So hold on. Making sure I'm tracking.
Mm-hmm.
Dyslexic, adopted child, heavily bullied, feeling ostracized, and he's also intellectually gifted.
Mm-hmm.
What a great combo.
So Joel was desperate to fit in, so much so that in his teen years, he joined the track team hoping to make friends. This backfired, though, and his teammates frequently tormented him. Joel ended up quitting track and joined the yearbook staff, where his camera was immediately stolen, and he wasn't even invited for the end of the year party.
Okay.
It was really sad.
So I'm very curious, like, what he was like. The reason I'm asking is I know, of course, things were massively different back in the 60s when we were going to school in the early 2000s, which makes us sound so freaking old.
We're not that old, I
We're not that
promise.
old. But that extreme version of bullying was reserved for the kids who were like mean. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I'm thinking of the kids
When we were in school, yeah.
when we
but
were in school. Yeah, like it wasn't the weird kid; it was the kid who was weird. But then, like, you try to be nice to him,
and they
and
were
they'd call
mean.
you a whore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of a very specific example right now. So that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
what was he like? Not blaming him at all, but like I just trying to have context for who this was and like why there was such extreme ostracizing happening.
I don't know. Not sure, unfortunately. In 1972, so Joel was 13 years old, he became inspired by a movie, Frenzy. For those who have not seen it, I have not, but I looked up what it was about. It's about a man wrongly accused of a series of murders in London. These murders were actually done by his friend who strangles women with neckties. Yeah. So he started daydreaming about raping and killing women, more specifically, prostitutes.
Okay, I would like to add a little bit to what I just said. I think I know why he was a little ostracized if that is what he begins to daydream.
Yeah, so when Joel was given a car a few years later, he started to look for nearby prostitutes.
As one does.
Joel graduated high school in 1977 and started college also in 1977, but would frequently skip class and would often skip work to spend time with prostitutes.
I should have got this out earlier, but I'm getting it out now.
Yeah. So Joel became obsessed. Obsessed. Yep. So this obsession took what little money Joel had, and so he would move in and out of his parents' house frequently in the 80s. He went to different colleges, but ultimately dropped out in 1984 and then became a self employed landscaper. In 1987, Bernard, his father, was diagnosed with prostate cancer and, after suffering for several months, ended up committing suicide by overdosing.
Dang.
Yeah. Joel was so lonely that he was drawn to prostitutes to help him experience intimacy. In 1987, Joel was actually arrested for offering money for sex to an undercover female police officer. And then by March 1989, Joel finally let the fantasies take over. His mother left for a trip. He went out, picked up a prostitute, and brought her back to his mother's house. This young woman was 25 years old and wasn't identified until 2013. Yeah. Her name was Heidi Blach, Blach, but used an alias of Susan Spencer. Joel later identified her as Susie. Joel bashed her head in with howitzer artillery shell, it's spelled Howitzer, and strangled her to death and then dismembered her body with an X-Acto knife.
A fucking X-Acto knife? We're talking about the knife smaller than half of this?
I think so. That's what it said, at least. Yeah, just keep that nearby. So he put her head in a paint can and brought it to a golf course. Oh, by the way, I skipped a line. He removed her teeth and fingertips.
For identification?
Mm-hmm. He then dumped her legs farther north. He dumped her torso and arms into the East River. The head was discovered on the seventh hole on March 5th, 1918, and her legs were found on April 8th, 1989. Did I say 1918? I meant 1989 for the first one. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't even catch it. I was just so mortified by
Yeah.
all of it.
So Heidi's remains were reportedly returned to her family. I couldn't find anything to confirm that. It just said that they were planning to give her remains over. Um, Again, and like she wasn't identified until 2013. So
he killed her in 89. Cops find her body.
mm-hmm.
Her body parts. They put it all together, and it wasn't until he confessed who she was that they made the connection and got her bones sent back to her family.
Correct. Because all Joel remembered was that her name was Susie. And then so they had to go and find around because that wasn't her actual name. So they had to go and ask around. And then finally someone identified her.
Okay.
Yeah. About 16 months after Heidi, Joel had his next victim, Julie Blackburn. He picked up Julie in 1990, July-ish. There wasn't a specific date on this one. He brought her back to his mother's house, and Joel beat her with a table leg and then strangled her to death. He also dismembered her body and put parts into several buckets that he filled with concrete and dumped those into the East River and Brooklyn Canal. Her body has never been recovered.
I was about to say, that's a little hard to recover unless you dredge the entire river, and then you gotta hope it doesn't get moved or jostled or buried by silt or otherwise.
Exactly. So in 1991, Joel seemed to start having a pattern on why he would start over.
I got you.
Merton.
Mertens. Honestly, at this point, this seems like a weird form of murder, so we could call it Mertens.
I guess. Maybe I'll leave that little slip up in there.
He's what the X-Acto knife. Just where I both do and don't want to know why he thought to remove the fingerprints and the teeth. If he knew that was an identifying thing, how did he know? Why was he cutting up the bodies? And how was no one seeing him take prostitutes into his mother's home? Where was his mother?
Out of town, usually.
Yeah.
So, in 1991, Joel seemed to start having a pattern on why he would murder certain prostitutes and not others. It mostly came down to if they had a drug addiction. Yeah.
So not even a physical type.
No, just if they had a drug addiction.
Weird that it's not a physical type deal. Drug addiction. Why? Why am I asking why a psychopath was doing what he was doing?
Because he's a psychopath. So on July 14th, 1991, Joel picked up Barbara Jacobs. She was 31 years old and had drug addictions, and she had been arrested for prostitution and auto theft. Barbara fell asleep, and Joel, after the deed, and Joel beat her with the same table leg he used on Julie, and then, like Julie, finished by strangling her. Joel then dismembered her as well and wrapped her in plastic and put her into a cardboard box. He dumped her into the Hudson River and was found only hours later by firefighters who were doing a training exercise.
Well, training's over, boys.
Pretty much. The next victim was Mary Ellen DeLuca. She was 22 years old and addicted to crack. She was last seen alive September 1st, 1991. Joel picked her up and drove her around and bought her drugs. They went to a cheap motel, and supposedly Mary Ellen rushed through sex, complained the entire time, and demanded he get her more dope. Again, supposedly at some point, Joel asked Mary Ellen if she wanted to die, and she said yes. Joel states that when he was strangling her, she didn't do anything. She just accepted her fate. And that stood out to him as one of the weird ones.
I don't feel like the flag.
The flag is not enough?
We need a what the fuck flag.
Oh, gosh.
So okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Joel took her body and drove to a rest stop and dumped her body. She was found on October 1st, only in a bra. With decomposition of her body, they were unable to find a cause of death, and she wasn't identified until June of 1993. At this point, Joel was seeing prostitutes almost every night.
How was he having money for prostitutes every night?
I don't know. I mean, he had a landscaping company, but it sounds like he was spending all of his money on prostitutes, which is why he frequently went back to his mom's house, because he did not have money, because he spent it all on prostitutes.
I'm imagining that that's your son or that's your brother.
Yeah, yikes, right? So one night in September, Joel picked up a prostitute who he had been with before. Her name is Yun Lee, Y-U-N, and the last name Lee, was a 31-year-old. She was his second prostitute in an hour. He ended up strangling her as well. This was Joel's first murder where he knew someone before killing them, and he experienced feeling some remorse, saying, quote, "I thought I liked her," end quote. That came directly from Joel.
Ew.
Uh-huh. He dumped her body in the East River, and she was found on September 23rd, 8 days before Mary Ellen was found. She was identified by her ex-husband. Joel could not remember the name of his sixth victim that occurred a few days before Christmas in 1991. He had picked her up and ended up strangling her in his car while she was pleasuring him. He drove back to Long Island, where he lived at that time, with her body next to him underneath a tarp. He got a 55-gallon oil drum and placed her in the barrel. He ended up rolling the oil drum into the East River. As he was about to leave, he was stopped by police officers, and they accused Joel of illegally dumping.
Yeah, but you don't know the half of it.
Mm-hmm. But somehow, Joel persuaded them that he was just there collecting junk and was let off with a warning. Right? It could have been ended then and there. Like if they had just shown up just a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. On December 26, 1991, Joel picked up Lorraine Orvieto, Orvieto. Lorraine was 28 years old and was said to try to control her manic depressive mood swings with cocaine, which is not how you control the mood swings.
No, if anything, to my understanding, that's how you increase the severity of them.
I would assume so.
Okay.
Yeah, just knowing how it works and how that works, don't try it. No.
Mm-mm.
Don't do drugs in general, but
yeah, that's the takeaway from pretty much every one of our episodes is don't do drugs, don't make bad decisions.
Don't kill people.
Don't kill. I was looping that into don't make bad decisions, but yeah, we do explicitly need to say that.
We do, especially with these cases. Don't kill people.
Don't kill people. Get therapy.
Get help. So Joel brought her to a schoolyard and strangled her also while she was pleasuring him. He ended up keeping her pill bottle, jewelry, and an ID as souvenirs.
Is this the first time he keeps souvenirs that we know
What
of?
did he do with the teeth and fingertips? I don't know. It wasn't explicitly said that he kept them, but I'm assuming he would have kept the teeth. Or maybe he dumped them. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm making assumptions over here.
Ew, just ew. This is an ew person.
That was the first one that the sources that I did confirm that he was keeping souvenirs. That's the first one that I could find that they explicitly said that he kept as souvenirs. Which, talking about sources, let me tell you where I got my sources real quick. I got them from biography.com/crime/Joel Rifkin, the HuffPost, oxygen.com, crimelibrary.org, nytimes.com. So that's where all my resources are from. And going back. So Joel brought her to his landscaping lot and stuffed her into an oil drum, and then he dumped her into the Coney Island Creek. Her body was discovered by a fisherman on July 11th, 1992. This was 2 months before her family filed a missing persons report. Yeah.
So, like, she was found but wasn't identified, and then her family 2 months later filed the missing persons?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure they probably thought she was just out on a manic episode.
Probably, yeah. 1 week later, on January 2nd of 1992, Joel picked up Mary Ann Holman. Mary Ann was his oldest victim at 39 years old. He brought her to the same place he took Yoon Lee, and he states that it was an automatic act and there wasn't much with that one.
Killing her just like a regular... Oh, it's like, putting your shoes on in the morning, just an automatic act. Just killing
happened.
Another woman.
Yeah. Yeah. So he again put her body in an oil drum and he dumped her in the Coney Island Creek. Her remains were found on July 9th, 1992, so 2 days before Lorraine's body was found, which I know we have a lot of names here. Mary Ann was identified with dental records, and she was returned to her family, or her remains were returned to her family. At this point, there were rumors circling that there could be a serial killer. Right?
We're at how many victims now? 8?
I don't know. There's a total of 17.
And they're just I mean, granted...
Probably around 8, yeah.
The only real common denominator seems to be the dumping in the river, but...
Different rivers.
Also, it was New York. It was at a time where the crime families were real active. So, like, I can see how there could be multiple people using the same dumping ground.
Yep. And that just goes real well with my next point here. So during this time in New York, solving the murders of prostitutes was not really on the police's radar. Really not at all.
No. They were focused on other things, which will actually, part of one of the things they were focusing on will be next week's episode. So check that out.
Yes. All right. So Joel could not remember the 9th victim. So you were right about 8. You were keeping track real good. He remembered her having tattoos. He remembered picking her up, but didn't recall if he ever knew her name. Joel did remember that when he strangled her, she fought for her life. He again dismembered her remains, placed her in an oil drum, and dropped her into Brooklyn's Newton Creek. On May 13th, 1992, the barrel she was in was spotted floating with a foot protruding, sticking out. She was found to have cocaine in her system, and it sounded like it was actually a lot because the detectives branded her as a drug mule who was accidentally killed. Essentially, a drug mule is someone that, you get caught and then you swallow it in a baggie or whatever. And that ruptured and filled her stomach with drugs and overdose. So that's what they assumed happened. Very, very dangerous. Don't do it.
Don't
Don't
swallow drugs.
don't do drugs in general.
Don't put drugs in any orifice.
Nope. So the detectives were wrong and learned years later that she was one of Joel's victims. She, though, to this day remains a Jane Doe. No one knows who she was. Joel's landscaping business went under, and he decided to go back to school in the spring of 1992. Joel again skipped most of his classes and took a part-time job at the liquor store.
Then why bother going back to school? Okay, sorry. Obviously, he makes poor decisions, but...
I got nothing. I got nothing. On Mother's Day weekend in 1992, Joel picked up Iris Sanchez. Iris was 25 years old and was addicted to crack. Joel strangled Iris while having sex. This spot he chose for her was about 200 feet off of what sounded to be a busy street, and it was within sight of the JFK airport.
So he's getting risky.
Yeah, but he placed her body under a rotting mattress and took her watch and jewelry as souvenirs. She wasn't found until June of 1993, and Joel had to draw the detectives a map to find her body because they could not find her. So he was getting more risky, but...
No one's paying attention.
No. The next victim was Ann Lopez. She was 33 and had 3 children. She was a prostitute mostly to pay for her cocaine addiction. On May 24th, 1992, Joel strangled her in his car and drove through the night and dumped her body along a highway.
So he gives zero regard to these women that he's killing, obviously. And he also doesn't even really care about getting caught because he's now confident because he's at, 10, 11 victims?
Yeah, we're in double digits for sure by now. Yeah, so she was found the next day actually by a motorist and was found to be missing one earring, which was later found in Joel's bedroom. So that was his souvenir. In June, Joel picked up a 21-year-old named Violet. Joel brought her to his mother's house, which was the first victim to go to his mother's house in almost a year. He strangled her after having sex and dismembered her in the bathtub. He dumped her torso. He put it in a black plastic bag and dumped it into the Hudson River, and then put her arms and legs in a suitcase. I don't know what he did with the suitcases, but probably put them somewhere. Mary Catherine Williams was Joel's next victim. She was 31 and had dated Joel twice already. Joel had, and I'm assuming dated as just they had gone out twice already he picked her up twice. Joel picked her up again on October 2nd, 1992, and they had sex, and while she was dozing off in his mother's car, he tried to choke her. She woke up and she fought hard. She kicked the gear shift hard enough that it snapped. Unfortunately, Joel overpowered her and he ended up winning the fight. He got the car moving and drove her to a suburb in Yorktown, and she was found on December 21st, 1992. Joel kept her credit cards and wicker handbag that was filled with costume jewelry. She remained a Jane Doe for 6 months. On November 16th, Joel picked up Jenny Soto. She was 23 years old and was in and out of detox. They had sex, and after, Joel began to strangle her. I'm just getting too worked up now. She put up a fight, and Joel states that she was the toughest to kill. She broke all 10 fingernails, clawing Joel's face and neck.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, she fought for her life. That was a death battle.
Yeah. So Joel ended up keeping her bra, panties, earrings, ID cards, and drug syringes for his trophies. He put her in an oil barrel and dumped her in the Harlem River, and this was close to where Yoon Lee was found 14 months earlier. Jenny was found the next day and was identified through fingerprints. Initially, police suspected her ex-boyfriend was the murderer. Clearly, he wasn't, and charges got dropped against him, but yikes.
Was there DNA under what was left of her fingernails? Wait, this was before then.
Yeah,
or before they did the DNA sequencing mapping.
Yeah, because this is early 90s.
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet. So Joel took a brief break after Jenny. He was taken aback by the fight in her. He was also hiding while his wounds healed since he couldn't explain them and couldn't hide them well.
Good job, Jenny.
Good job. His break only lasted 15 weeks, though. On February 27th, 1993, Joel found a single mother of two, Leah Evans. She was also addicted to drugs, but worked the streets to make money. He brought her to an abandoned parking lot. They were about to have sex, but apparently Leah started crying, so Joel started to strangle her. Yeah.
So he just jumped right over the sex, right to the kill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know, great, right?
I gotta look up a picture of him after this because I'm trying to understand the physical strength it takes to strangle somebody is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if he is having this much sex, but also he's not physically exhausted afterwards, and he's got to be really strong, and yeah, everything about this is ugh. Like I'm parsing my words through the vomit that I want to say. Oh my god! And he is just. What is his killing span now? Are we at like 5 years? No, 3 years.
It is currently 93, and his first kill, let me scroll up quite a ways.
Was the first kill in 86?
First kill was 89.
80.
March of 89.
March of 89. We're in 93. 4 years and 11 victims?
I think we're well over that by now because we're getting towards the end.
That's a lot of death in a very short time. And he's not caught. He was almost caught.
So he brought Leah to the east end of Long Island and buried her in a shallow grave in the woods. This was his only victim who got a grave.
I was going to say, this is out of the ordinary. He's been all about dump and go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so she got a grave. He kept her driver's license. And on May 9th, some hikers found a withered hand sticking out of the ground, and they called police. On April 2nd, 1993, Joel picked up 28-year-old Lauren Marquez, Marquez. She was also addicted to drugs. Joel brought her to a secluded place and started choking her immediately. A random man, by the way, was out walking his dog and passed by their car. Joel, at this, almost let Lauren go. She fought him, but he ended up actually snapping her neck. He was strangling her so hard.
Okay, back to what I said before. Very strong man. Well, piece of shit, but wow, that takes a lot.
Yeah, no, that's insane.
That's an insane amount of force.
Yeah. He ended up dumping her body in Suffolk County Pine Barrens, and she was there until his arrest.
Oh, sorry, real quick. So the guy that was walking by didn't catch any of this?
I don't know if he saw them or not, but he didn't do anything about it.
We've said it before. We'll say it again. If you see something, say something. Call the cops.
Call the cops. So Joel dumped her. I just said that. Lauren was also found to have fractured ribs. And Joel claims that he couldn't remember hitting her. So if it wasn't from him, it was from someone else. But
I mean, it's a dangerous line of work.
it is. She was also identified with DNA testing on August 20th, 1993. All right. We've made it to Joel's final victim, number 17. So we've gone through 16 already. This is number 17.
Between 1989 and 1993.
Yeah, it started March of 89, and now this is June 24th of 93. So that's a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So on June 24th, 1993, Joel picked up Tiffany Bresciani, Bresciani.
I have no idea how to say that.
No, and I apologize for mispronouncing.
We're not good at names.
I'm not, which is why if I'm not confident, I will spell it so you guys can, yeah. Tiffany was a girl who came from the South and came to New York to become an actor or a dancer. Well, unfortunately, she got addicted to heroin and became a stripper and prostitute. Joel picked her up late on the 24th. She was also his second prostitute of the night and fourth in 2 days. Joel ended up strangling her at 5:30 a.m. Joel was driving back home and he had stopped at stores along the way to get rope and tarp. This whole time, Tiffany was in the back seat of his mother's car. When he arrived home, Tiffany's body was wrapped in the tarp and she was in the trunk. As Joel came home, his mother demanded her keys so she could go shopping. He didn't have time to move Tiffany's body, so he left her there, and his mother never knew she was in the back.
She didn't put her shopping bags in the trunk?
No.
She didn't hear the thump thump?
Apparently not. When his mother got back, Joel moved Tiffany to a wheelbarrow in the garage and left her there for 3 days.
This dude does not give a flying crap about these women, obviously. And this is so reckless. How was he not caught?
I know. Insane. Insane. So after 3 days, I promise we are getting close to him getting caught.
You're good.
I mean, we're on the last victim. We're getting close. So after the 3 days, he left to dump her body near the Millsville Republic Airport, which was about 15 miles from his house. While driving there, troopers attempted to stop him for not having a rear license plate. I do want to say some say that he didn't have a rear license plate. Others say that he had expired tabs.
So he was getting stopped for a minor traffic infraction.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Either way, police attempted to pull him over, and he didn't stop. So this led to a 20 to 25 minute chase and ended when Joel lost control of the vehicle and crashed into a pole. Troopers then decided that they were going to search his vehicle because obviously
he fled. He flew.
He flew.
There, he flew. He fled. Yeah. Like, if I was the cop, I'd be like, suspicious as hell. We're searching.
Exactly. So they found Tiffany's body. and Joel's interrogation began at 8:25 a.m. on June 28th, 1993. Joel had been caught with overwhelming evidence, so he ended up confessing and described all 17 murders without a lawyer present. It was also very unclear if he declined a lawyer or if he was refused one. Some sources say that he asked for one and they said no. And some say that he just didn't want one.
Okay. Very... Okay. I hate what I'm about to say, but I've said it in other episodes. You have rights, even if you're a worthless waste of space. Yeah. So, like, the cops should not have denied him his lawyer. So hopefully that wasn't the case, because that can get stuff thrown out in court.
I know.
He also sounds cocky enough and reckless enough and just cavalier to not want to have a lawyer because he's smart enough.
Yeah.
He's murdered 17 women and no one's caught him. He's got a 128 IQ. So smart. Heavy sarcasm and judgment, if that was not clear.
Yep. So, again, not sure. Sources, I could not figure it out. I tried for a long time to figure out, and I could not figure out.
Yeah, no. That'd be... Oh, God, that came out of nowhere. 4 a.m. bedtimes are a bad idea. Well, yeah, I don't know if I can add more to that other than...
No, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So supposedly Joel wrote the names of those that he remembered and even sketched maps to help police find the ones that were still missing. Joel was also referring to the murders as events or incidents and listed his victims by numbers.
An incident is you have a little fender bender and, you exchange your insurance information, you drive off. That is more than an incident.
Yes, it is.
What a unique human being.
That's one way to put it.
That is the nicest way I can put that.
Yeah. So his trial started in 1994. The prosecution presented a case that showcased the evidence against him and even his own confession. Before sentencing, the prosecutor, Fred Klein, said, quote, Joel Rifkin is, in my opinion, best described as a killing machine. What he did to Tiffany Berseni, and I apologize again for the name, was not impulsive. It was deliberate, premeditated, and methodical. End quote.
Oh, yeah. Go for murder in the first degree. Premeditated as hell.
Yeah. And of course, Joel's team came back arguing that he suffered from mental health issues and that he didn't understand his actions.
One murder, maybe. Maybe I could see that being the argument. 17. I don't think we're grasping that 17 is a lot of people to kill.
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. If 17 people walked up to you and said, oh my God, you're beautiful, you're going to feel like that's a lot of people. If 17 people walk up to you and say, oh my God, what is wrong with you? That's going to feel like a lot of people. So 17 people to kill, that's... But mental health issues. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, yes. Also, not a great argument.
No, it's not. No. So this next part, I tried for so long to find this video or this audio clip, but I couldn't. But Morbid Podcast had the clip on their episode that they did on him. So I listened to it and I wrote the quote down because I can't do this case and not say it. So before sentencing, Joel said, quote, what I have done can never be forgiven. But I ask you to believe me when I tell you that I will never understand the part of me that causes me to do these things to your children. Not only will I go to my death reliving these horrors, but I will go there never knowing why I did them at all. You all think I am nothing but a monster, and you are right. Part of me must be. End quote. But he gets interrupted by the judge, and I have the quote from the judge. Mr. Refkin, in case there is such a thing as reincarnation, I want to be sure that you spend your second life in prison also.
I've heard that quote. I have heard that quote.
It came from this case.
Oh.
Yeah. That quote, I was like, I can't have this case and not that quote.
Mm-hmm.
Love that judge.
No kidding. Because that is the most non-apology ever.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. I'm a monster. I'll never understand it. Okay, not an apology.
No, not even a little bit.
You're not... Go judge.
Yeah.
Go judge.
So the jury found him guilty of multiple counts of murder and was sentenced to 203 years in prison without the possibility of parole. And that's all for the Joel Rifkin case.
Is he still alive in prison?
That is I believe so. Sorry, I'm just laughing. Joel Rifkin is serving his 203 years in the Clinton Correctional Facility. He is eligible for parole in 2197 at the age of 238.
I mean,
yeah.
Modern medicine ain't that good, so...
No. But yes, so he is still alive, still serving his sentence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, very glad he's caught.
Mm-hmm. Again, just an idiot. Like I said in the beginning, one of the dumbest ways to get caught. I'm glad he got caught, but
yes.
You've been so smart about how you're going to dispose of the bodies and blah, blah, blah. And then you either A, don't have a rear license plate, or B, have expired tabs. Come on.
You know what? This is something where there's been a lot of talk about traffic infractions and whether, that should be cause for pulling someone over. I will say it is cases like this. And there are so many, not even all these high scale ones, but even like lower ones where criminals, bad people have been caught because of minor traffic infractions.
Yep.
Which is huge because it gives you just enough to go after the person, to pull them over, maybe just to have a conversation. The cop is probably like, dude, your tabs are expired. Just letting you know. That's probably what it's going to be. And then dude takes off instead. And now here we are. There's a reason for these small minor laws. This is one of the reasons. 17 women in 4 years.
Insane.
Okay, so I don't know if you'll know this. My understanding through media, through reading my own case files, and just general knowledge I have from law enforcement community is that the sex workers, they very much have their own community. And
usually.
Yes, and it's usually based on a safety factor of they can start letting other girls know and boys that there is a John Doe that is trouble, that, people are disappearing after going with him. And so I'm very surprised that after 17 women.
But he also kept going to other girls, picking them up, and they were fine. I mean, he was picking up prostitutes almost every night.
Yeah, good point. So law of large numbers. I'm sure they probably didn't think of it.
Yeah. Because some of them, and I didn't write this down, but some of them had come forward after he was caught saying that when he was with them, he was super gentle and sweet and quiet and nerdy. So you get a guy like that you go with multiple times. You're always fine.
Yeah, and then psychopath. He's making them feel relatively comfortable, because then a new girl could be like, oh, what about, Joel
Refkin.
And they'd be like, oh yeah, he's kind of nerdy, like a little bit of a dork, like don't worry, it'll be quick, easy, one and done.
Yeah. And then those ones die.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? I don't know if you have it in your notes. What was his mother and his sister's reaction upon finding out about all this?
I don't have that. I don't know.
Because I'm just imagining in that situation, if my son or my brother was doing that, I would be, I don't think I could describe how revolted I would be. And also just the idea of being his mother, having
knowing that you had the dead body in the back of your car.
The dead body was in the back of your car, and also he had killed multiple women in your car.
And the house.
And the house. And your tub.
Yep, he dismembered one of them in that tub. Yeah. Well, that was a little heavier this week.
It's just so... not that I can get my brain around
most of the stuff we talked about.
Yeah, most of it. I mean, I'm still struggling with the Dyatlov Pass, which, if you haven't watched it, check it out. We should probably do a part 2 or redo that one. But I really just don't... It just goes against so much of what you think would happen.
I know.
Dude killing prostitutes. We talked about it slightly before this episode, because that's all I really knew. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon.
No.
But just the amount of women in the time frame and the way they were murdered. Okay. He's caught. That's the important part.
He's behind bars. Not going to be able to hurt anyone else.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
On that happy note, anything else you'd like to add here?
It's always awkward plugging our socials at the end. So we're just going to go for it. You can find us on all of our social medias. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Chaos Chronicles Podcast, and that's Chronicles with an S. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. And tune in either for our Saturday episodes. I believe we are on New Moon. I believe that's how things are working up.
Yep,
right
we're on
now.
the Twilight series.
Yep. So we are on book 2 for that. So those are our Saturday episodes. Otherwise, catch us next week for Connie's case.
Yeah. And again, as I mentioned at the start of the episode, it's a joke. It's not a joke. You should like, follow, and subscribe, because we're traumatized for you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time.
Adios.
Bye.
Just a normal Wednesday. Can we have a normal Wednesday episode?
This is a normal Wednesday episode, Connie.
What happened to life lessons and stories?
The internet wasn't interested in life lessons and fun, happy things.
Goddamn internet.